Here at Channel 2, we are marking 2/22/22 as a special date on the calendar. And on this Tuesday, we are looking back at 22 of the top stories of the TV era in Buffalo.
And selecting them from a list of more than 50 possible stories was a panel of current and former members of our news team and some community members as well. Here's our Dave McKinley with part 3 of 22 stories for 2/22/22.
Number 9, O.J. For a generation of fans of Buffalo's most popular sports franchise, O.J. Simpson was nothing short of an icon. His becoming the first NFL player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in a season made him a national superstar. And even after he hung up his cleats, his star continued to shine as a popular pitchman, movie actor, and network football analyst. But in 1994, he was charged with the brutal murders of his wife, Nicole, and her friend, Ron Goldman, and a nation watched in fascination, a slow-speed chase in a white Ford Bronco toward a trial which would span 11 months, broadcast gavel to gavel to millions, until his eventual acquittal. It was a big enough story to send our reporters clear across the country to cover it. Simpson would later serve 10 years in prison for armed robbery and assault before being released in 2017. Whether through fame or through infamy, O.J. was one of the biggest stories of the television era in Buffalo. Number 8. 22 caliber killer. In September of 1980, 3 men and 1 boy were killed within 36 hours of each other in the Buffalo area by someone using a 22 caliber weapon. In October, 2 more murders. This time the victims were beaten, their bodies mutilated. Then, on a single day in December, 4 more murders within an 8-hour period, all in New York City, where each victim was stabbed to death. And 1 week after that, 2 more fatal stabbings, 1 in Buffalo and 1 in Rochester. The common thread between the 12 murders and 7 attacks where the victims survived, all within 4 months, were that all of the victims were black. Cops who'd figured a serial killer was lurking got their breakdown at Fort Benning, Georgia, of all places, where an Army private named Joseph Christopher attacked a black soldier with a paring knife and told a psychiatrist that he had to kill blacks. Buffalo police soon obtained a warrant and searched his home, where evidence linking him to the first of the murders was found. Christopher was eventually convicted of 3 killings and sent to prison, where he only lived to be 37, dying behind the walls of a rare form of male breast cancer in 1993. Number 7. The Super Bills. A little over a generation ago, a team loaded with all-pros, many of whom would become Hall of Famers, accomplished a feat never done before or since by any other, when the Bills went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. Through all those years, Bills fever was at a fervent pitch, and we spent enormous amounts of time bringing the story home. Of course, whether they were just a shade wide right, or if since then by some home run, throwback Music City miracle, or even if just by a measly 13 seconds, the thirst for an NFL championship for the Bills remains one to be quenched. Number 6. Timothy McVeigh. When in April of 1995 a truck bomb destroyed the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, the nation was shocked and grieved at the carnage and the loss of 168 lives. The shock deepened when it was determined that this was an act of domestic terrorism, and it deepened further in our region when it was learned that one of the perpetrators was a Western New Yorker. Timothy McVeigh, a 26-year-old Gulf War veteran and graduate of Star Point High School, and whose family still lived in Pendleton. 2 years later, in 1997, McVeigh was convicted on all the charges against him by a jury which recommended he be put to death, which he was in June of 2001 at a federal prison in Indiana at the age of 33. Number 5. 3407. In February of 2009, Continental Connection Flight 3407 from Newark to Buffalo crashed 5 miles short of landing in Clarence Center. All 49 souls on board were killed, in addition to a man into whose home the plane had crashed. The accident investigation found that pilot error was the cause, and 11 years later, it remains the most recent domestic aviation accident involving a U.S.-based airline that resulted in mass casualties. Some credit that to the tireless efforts of the loved ones and survivors of those killed, who, once their lawsuits were settled, worked tirelessly to improve airline safety and getting Congress to enact several measures to that end, including more stringent pilot training. Well, now you must be on the edge of your seat wondering what were the remaining top 4 stories as picked by our panelists, and I wait with bated breath to tell you. I will do that coming up for you tonight at 6, guys.
We cannot wait. Thank you so much, Dave. Some outstanding writing there.
Very well told.
I could not take my eyes off the screen.
Very well told, David. Thank you very much.